Part 1. Out of Control. That night, I returned to the short-term rental apartment where I had begun a month-long experiment in solitude. A week earlier, I had survived a terrifying near-death experience. The sensation of death tightening its grip around my throat still made me shiver. My solitude was no longer simply about facing loneliness. It meant confronting the aftershock of trauma. This loss of control was not anxiety. It was a biological mutiny. My heart raced on its own, air refused to enter my lungs, and my brain kept screaming, "Run!" But there was nowhere to go. I followed the routine I had rehearsed in my mind countless times. First, I did a gentle workout with light dumbbells, hoping the warmth in my muscles might loosen the tightness in my chest. Then, I made myself some salmon and half a sweet potato. Experience had taught me that the right food could steady my emotions. After that, I practiced River Flows in You on the electric piano, letting my fingers strike the keys one by one, trying to hammer the chaos into a melody. Finally, I put on my coat and went for a walk. It was November, and Christmas lights had already begun appearing along the streets. I breathed deeply, almost greedily, trying to inhale that soft glow and warm the shrinking space inside my heart. These were the driftwood planks I clung to while drowning. When I returned, there was one final step in the routine: meditation. I dimmed the lights, rolled out my mat, and closed my eyes. I began visualizing the confident me, the version of myself who could handle everything. Then, suddenly, a mass of black pressure surged toward me. It crushed my chest and invaded my mind. I tried to ignore it, but it pushed harder. I couldn't breathe. My eyes snapped open. The chandelier, the floor lamp, the coffee table, the sofa, everything seemed to morph into clawing monsters collapsing toward me. It was here, that familiar grip around the heart, the numbness spreading through my limbs. And this time, I was alone. Fear swallowed me whole. For a few seconds, I thought this might be the end. And then, I cried. I wailed. I cried because everything I had prepared had failed. I cried because all my driftwood was gone. There was nothing left to grab. I cried for a long time, until the tears, the heart, and the mind all emptied. Strangely, the black monster that had been strangling me was gone too. After washing up, I lay down in bed, completely exhausted. A wave of failure washed over me. Why had the armor I spent years building collapsed so easily? What was I trying to control? What was I fighting? What was I hiding from? Part 2. Control. Since the age of 11, I had lived by one word: control. Not the intelligent kind, but the desperate kind. The belief that if I were good enough, strong enough, and perfect enough, then no one would ever leave me again. I used my willpower to take over everything: my body, my emotions, every moment that threatened to spiral. For more than 20 years, binge eating was my most familiar battlefield. Food was my sedative. It dulled the pain while I was eating, but afterward, the pain always returned even stronger. I went to the gym, pushing my body until irritation drained out through sweat. I filled journal after journal, writing until my fingers cramped. These methods helped, in a way, like tiny pinholes in a boiling pressure cooker. But the fire at the bottom of the pot never stopped burning. That night, I finally saw the truth. The dumbbells, the healthy meals, the piano, the walks, all the careful scaffolding I had built collapsed in the face of a real storm. They were breakwaters made of toothpicks. What troubled me most, however, was meditation. I practiced something called mind movie meditation, a method designed to rehearse the future. Close your eyes and place yourself in the ideal scene, confident, composed, fully in control. It had helped me once. It helped me break free from binge eating and made me appear emotionally stable to others. But over time, that stability began to feel wrong. It was like anesthesia. The pain was gone, but so was the ability to feel. Inspiration faded, and something inside me went numb. Was I simply using meditation as another way to escape? Part 3. From It to You. Back to that night. After the crying subsided, I lay there hollowed out. And suddenly I saw her, the 11-year-old girl, shaking with fear. My carefully constructed routine had always had one purpose: to suppress her. The dumbbells, the healthy food, the piano, the walks, they were all tools. Even meditation was a tool. In my mind, I had built a garden of the future. I threw myself into it and acted out a version of, I am fine. When that trembling 11-year-old girl pushed open the door, I didn't hug her. I locked the door from the inside and stayed in that garden alone, acting out success. I cried again, but this time it wasn't a collapse. It was tenderness. I stroked her hair and pulled her close. I'm sorry, I whispered. I shouldn't have left you alone. Don't be afraid. I'm here now. I will never leave you behind again. That night, we simply leaned against each other and fell asleep. I stopped running to the future garden and instead sat down in the ruins beside her. That night, the thing I had always treated as an it, a problem to manage, finally became a you I could speak to. Part 4. Walking the Present. After the month of solitude, I went to stay with my mother for a while. Each day, my greatest comfort was walking along the lakeside park near her home. Late winter was turning into early spring. Under the warm sunlight, everything seemed quietly alive. I always feel relaxed when I return home, but this time, something felt deeper. It was as if my cells were filling up again, one day at a time. When I walked outside, I was no longer alone. I was holding her hand. I pointed things out to her: the sunlight on the ground, the blue sky, the green water, the golden reeds, the orange branches, the bird nests, and the birds calling. I pointed out the street vendor selling roasted sweet potatoes, his face flushed from the rising steam. Look, I told her, all of this is here. Again and again, I walked her through this safe, present moment. I wasn't moving to a safe place alone. I was holding her hand and walking towards safety together. There by the lake, I was both my mother's 11-year-old daughter and the mother of that little girl, and the two of them finally became one. That was when I understood something simple and profound. Safety is not a place. Safety is holding your hand while we walk. Something else happened too. Once I began holding her hand, the sensitivity I thought I had lost began returning like the tide. I was no longer the anesthetized, mechanically stable person I had become. The shadows of the trees regained depth, the wind regained its warmth and chill, and even words began to move lightly through my mind again. It turned out she was the master switch for all my sensors. When I stopped locking her out, I recovered the key to my inspiration. Part 5. The Ultimate Integration. After leaving my mother's home, life quickly became messy again. Divorce, selling the house, company restructuring, team transitions. Pressure came from every direction. I tried to sit with my emotions, but they still lingered as a dull heaviness in my chest. One evening after dinner, I stepped outside to clear my head. I looked up and saw a full moon hanging between the branches in the sky. I grabbed her hand and walked to a more open road so we could follow it. The moon drifted in and out of clouds like a quiet game of hide and seek. And suddenly, I saw my future self in that moon. Natural, relaxed, inherently safe. Just like that, the pressure that had filled my chest for days dissolved. My heart felt light. In that moment, I understood. Before, I had abandoned the 11-year-old girl and run toward the future alone. By the lake at my mother's, I had learned to hold her hand and walk in the present. But only now did I realize the final step. I must hold her hand and walk toward the future together. At that moment, I also thought about my mind movie meditation. It was never wrong. It was meant to show me the future. But before, I had used it only as an escape. Now I understood. The future is still where we are going, but we must go there together. Past and present, hand in hand, walking toward the future. That is wholeness. Part 6. When the Shoe Fits. That night, I finally understood Heidegger's idea of temporality. The past is not cold ashes. It is a pulse still beating now. The future is not a distant destination. It is the gravity guiding us in this moment. When I hold the hand of that 11-year-old girl while looking toward the future self who feels safe and whole, I finally stand fully in the present. Only when all the versions of me have arrived does the shoe truly fit. Part 7. Epilogue. Next week, I've booked another short stay in a small apartment. A few nights alone again. I feel a little excited and a little nervous. I bought some yarn, midnight gray, mixed with hints of pale orange and soft blue. I plan to knit a simple vest. I don't know whether the stress response will return, but I do know one thing. In that quiet apartment, the 11-year-old girl will sit on my left and my future self will sit on my right. The three of us, knitting together.